Well, at least we know it's working.
So I just emptied what was inside of this air oil separator, and this is what was in there. It's about 2 ounces. I have yet to drain this since I've installed it with the B20 VTEC. From what I've read and have been told, this is normal, the color. I think initially one would be worried that you're pushing some fluid, but what it is condensation from cold starts mixing with the oil and vapors that's getting pushed up into the separator. So not alarming. Like I said, it's roughly about 2 ounces, which isn't bad. So it is working, which is a great thing. So happy with this so far. I'm glad I decided to do it. And the next thing I need to do is get this ready to paint it. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is get this prepped for the wrinkle black finish. That is the same finish on the intake tube. I'm undecided how I want to go about these brass fittings, if I want to take them out and spray it and then reinstall them and have some brass showing. I am going to be using some black vacuum hosing, so that's going to come right up to here. So that might look nice if it's just a little bit of brass there. So I'm going to figure that out as we go. Also, not sure about this clamp. This is the Speedfactory supplied clamp that comes with the canister. So we'll see what that looks like once it's installed. I might go a different route on how to mount this, but I'll figure that out later. The next thing I need to do is try to locate a filter that is similar in size, but with the red fabric material for the filter so it matches. So Can seems to be the place to go for that type of stuff. They have tons of universal filters. So I'm going to look on there. You can put in the dimensions of your inlet and the height and the width that you want, and it pumps out some different options. So I think we should be able to find something with that. So I'm going to go get that figured out, and then we'll start prepping this for paint. All right, so to prep this, I'm gonna just use some a maroon Scotch-Brite pad to scuff it up so the primer will adhere better. I have some self-etching primer, which is I think ideal for raw metal, aluminum especially. And then once that dries out, I will top coat it with the VHT, and I'm gonna cure it in the oven just because I want the tighter wrinkle rather than that the more coarse stuff you get if you let it air dry. So pretty straightforward. So now the next thing I'm going to do is a wipe down with some degreaser, and then I'll just use brake cleaner, and then hit it with some isopropyl alcohol before priming it. I'm going to plug these 4 holes up so I don't get any paint on the threads or in there. Just use some cloth or paper towel or something in there just to keep those from getting gunked up. So let's go do that. All right, so I have the first 2 coats on of the VHT Wrinkle paint, and it's going on nicely. The directions do say to put 3 heavy coats on in a crosshatch pattern, so I'm going to put the 3rd one on in a couple minutes. I did prime it with this self-etching primer, which I believe will just allow the VHT Wrinkle to adhere much better. So it's roughly 50 degrees out, so I'm kind of at the threshold of temperature of what it should be outside, but it's holding up well. I do have the oven set at 200, and so after the next coat I'm going to throw this in there at 200 for an hour, and it should wrinkle up tightly and cure out. So I'll get this last coat sprayed on, and then we'll toss it in the oven, then we'll see what it looks like when it comes out after being in there for an hour. All right, so I'm going to install these 2 brass fittings here as well as the drain plug, and I'm going to use Honda Bond to do so. I believe the instructions say Teflon tape will work, but what I've found is that over time Teflon tape just seems to disintegrate and does not hold up well. And I originally used Teflon tape on this lower fitting, and after not too long it was slowly leaking out of there. So I prefer to use Honda Bond. I know people will say RTV or whatever, but you know, this stuff is just a couple bucks more, and I've never had a problem with it. So I feel like it's worth the money just to have the insurance and not to skimp on something just for a couple bucks. So I'm going to hit these threads up and then just thread it in. So I have the can mounted and the filter on top of it. I think it came out great. I think it looks much better than in its original raw aluminum form. It kind of tucks away back there and is not as obvious. So I like it a lot. Now I'm just waiting on the braided nylon hoses that are in the mail. It should be here tomorrow. So once I get those, I can replace these ones. These are on here just stuck for the time being because I did have to back the car out and I didn't want to take the chance of any oil spitting out. So this is pretty much complete, and I'm excited for those black braided hoses. I think it'll just look much better than these plastic ones. So I was able to mount the can with the original clamp that it came with, but I used a piece of an old bicycle tube from the tire and just cut a thin piece, so it's kind of an isolator in there, so it's not going to scratch this coating. So that worked well, and it's really not noticeable from far back. So just waiting on some hoses, and once we get the braided lines, we'll replace it, and that job will be done. So the braided hose arrived, and I was able to install it. I'm really happy with how this turned out. The braided lines just makes it look neater, cleaner, and it doesn't stand out as much as those white or clear Speedfactory supplied ones did. I think it gives it an overall just a cleaner look. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. I did also receive the K-tuned breather filter. This is originally for a K series. It is much bigger than I thought it would be, and I'm not sure if I like it. Compared to the old one that was on there, it is noticeably bigger. And now that I've painted this all black, I think what I want to do is actually keep this one and paint the chrome parts black to match the top of this one. And I think this will be a much cleaner look and not stand out. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait until the weather gets warmer because, like I said, it's in the 30s and 20s out right now, and I just want to make sure the paint adheres like it should, and when the garage is too cold, it just doesn't seem to work. So that's going to come later in the future. So overall, this job's done. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I can put the intake back on and move on to the next one. So that's going to wrap up this video. I appreciate you watching and checking it out, and hit that like, subscribe button, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.